So hi Chuka, if you could just give us a quick introduction to who you are and also what you do for our readers who are primarily small and medium-sized businesses.
I'm Chuka Umunna. I'm the Shadow Secretary of State for Business, Innovation and Skills, and I'm the Member of Parliament for Streatham. Very much hoping in 85 days to be able to do far more for your readers and listeners to your different audio outputs if we're elected and I'm appointed as the Business Secretary. And we know, fantastic nation that we are, huge dynamism, creativity, incredible startup community, but frankly what people say they need is more support. So we want to ensure that we have a better banking system that gives people the capital and finance that they need, financial services system in general, which is why we all set up a British investment bank. We know it's not just about the finance you can access, but also cash flow. We will clamp down on the outrageous situation where large customers of smaller businesses don't pay them on time. We're actually seeking to make changes. There's a small business bill going through Parliament at the moment on that, and we want to make sure that people have the right workforce. And that they can get, in particular, people with the right skills, which is why we have all young people learn maths and English up to 18, and also ensure that we increase the numbers and quality of apprenticeships. And above all, we want to make sure that there's a strong voice for small and medium-sized businesses at government, which is why we are going to establish a UK equivalent of the US Small Business Administration to really ensure that there's good focus across government on what your listeners and your readers need.
Okay, and picking up on that point about the small business bill, I mean, would you legislate for fines for late payment, and how do you see that amendment going?
Well, we've put down amendments to that bill through its passage through Parliament. What we envisage is after the payment date becomes due, interest being paid on the sum after it has been paid late of 8%. Now, the way we have sought to get this to work is through having companies confirm in their VAT, quarterly VAT filings, that they've paid on time, and if they haven't paid on time, they've paid the interest to their suppliers. That way you prevent the supplier from having a row with its customer, and actually essentially through changing the rules and government action you can ensure that there is, if you like, automaticity in terms of any sanction that is imposed on those who don't pay on time. This is a really big issue for businesses. That's what we're trying to do in the bill at the moment.
Okay, and what's to stop these larger suppliers doing what they do now and setting long payment terms, so 90 days plus? Wouldn't that sort of get around the fines issue?
Well, in some senses, when you're trying to tackle issues like this, it's like running up a down escalator. And we introduced the Late Payment Commercial Interest Act to try and help small businesses, and also introduced the Prompt Payment Code, which more companies are now signing up to. We think taking this next step will make a real difference. And it's incredibly controversial, particularly for some of the large big brands, to go for 90-day payment terms. But we've been very clear, we're not going to allow this scandal to continue. We've proposed the action that we're going to implement if we're elected, and then we'll have to see whether further action is needed in office.
Okay, and finally, anything you'd say about Cameron's pledge to triple the number of startup loans and the new scheme targeted at high growth businesses we heard about today?
Well, I think some of the finance schemes the government's introduced, particularly to help exporters, have not really been taken up by businesses at all. So we do need to look at the way that export support works, particularly in respect of smaller businesses. But what I would say about access to finance generally for businesses is that in some senses there is a lot of focus on debt finance, whereas we need to make sure that we get the equity side right as well. And you obviously need to look at the tax treatment and incentives that are put in place to try and change the balance there.